If you've ever lived in the neighborhood with a homeowners association, you know the feeling. You open your mailbox and there it is, a bright, official-looking envelope stamped with your HOA's logo. Inside, you find a violation notice and a fine. Maybe it's for your trash can being out too long, your grass being a little too high, or your mailbox not being the right shade of beige. You sigh, pay the fine, and move on. But have you ever stopped to wonder, where does all that money actually go? Welcome to the secret world of HOA fines, a world that's far more complicated and sometimes more mysterious than most homeowners realize. Let's start with the basics. HOAs are supposed to use fines as a way to encourage compliance with community rules, not as a way to make money. The idea is that if everyone follows the rules, the neighborhood stays nice, property values stay high, and everyone's happy. But in reality, fines can add up fast. In some communities, they're a minor annoyance, a $25 penalty here, a $50 warning there. In others, they become a major source of revenue, with some HOAs collecting tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in fines alone. So, what happens to all that money? Officially, most HOAs claim that fine revenue goes into the general fund, which is used to pay for things like landscaping, pool maintenance, security, and community events. But the truth is, the way fines are handled and where the money ends up varies wildly from one HOA to another. In some places, the process is transparent and above board. In others, it's anything but. Take the story of a homeowner in Arizona who was fined $100 for having a garden gnome in her front yard. She paid the fine, but when she asked the board where the money went, she got vague answers. It goes into the budget, they said. It helps pay for community improvements. But when she looked at the HOA's financial statements, she couldn't find any line item for fines. The money just seemed to disappear into a black hole. This isn't an isolated case. Across the country, homeowners have reported similar experiences. Some HOAs are meticulous about tracking fine revenue and reporting it to the community. Others lump it in with dues and assessments, making it nearly impossible to see how much is being collected or how it's being spent. In the worst cases, there have been scandals involving embezzlement, mismanagement, or even outright fraud. One of the reasons for this secrecy is that fines can be a sensitive subject. No one likes being penalized, and boards know that too many fines can create resentment and backlash. Some HOAs try to downplay the amount they collect, worried that homeowners will accuse them of using fines as a cash grab. Others are more open, publishing detailed financial reports and explaining exactly how fine revenue is used. But even in the best-run communities, the process can be confusing and opaque. So, where does the money really go? In theory, it should be used for the benefit of the community. That means paying for things like landscaping, repairs, insurance, and amenities. In some HOAs, fine revenue is earmarked for specific projects, like fixing the pool, upgrading the playground, or planting new trees. In others, it goes into the general fund and is used to cover whatever expenses come up. But here's where things get tricky. In some communities, fine revenue is used to cover budget shortfalls or unexpected expenses. If the HOA didn't collect enough in dues, or if there's a big repair bill, fines can become a way to make up the difference. This creates a perverse incentive. The more fines the board issues, the more money they have to spend. In extreme cases, boards have been accused of targeting certain homeowners or ramping up enforcement just to boost revenue. There are also stories of HOAs using fine money for things that have nothing to do with the community. In one infamous case, a board used fine revenue to pay for a lavish holiday party for themselves, complete with catering, gifts, and even a live band. In another, the money went to pay for legal fees after the board was sued by a group of angry homeowners. In both cases, residents were furious when they found out, and the boards were eventually voted out. Transparency is supposed to be the answer. Most states require HOAs to keep detailed financial records and to make them available to homeowners on request. Some states go further, requiring boards to publish annual budgets, hold open meetings, and allow residents to vote on major expenditures. But in practice, getting access to this information can be a challenge. Boards may drag their feet, provide incomplete records, or simply refuse to answer questions. Homeowners who push too hard can find themselves targeted with more fines or even legal threats. So what can you do if you want to know where your fine money is going? Start by reading your HOA's governing documents. Look for sections on fines, budgets, and financial reporting. Attend board meetings, ask questions, and request copies of financial statements. If the board is uncooperative, Check your state's laws. Many require boards to provide this information within a certain time frame. And if you suspect mismanagement or fraud, don't be afraid to speak up. Talk to your neighbors, organize, and, if necessary, seek legal advice. The secret world of HOA fines is just that, a world that's often hidden from view. But with a little effort, you can shine a light on where the money really goes. And who knows, you might just help make your community a better and fairer place for everyone.
The more you dig into the world of HOA fines, the more you realize how much is hidden beneath the surface. For many homeowners, the process of trying to follow the money is like chasing shadows. You pay your fine, you see the money leave your account, but you never really know if it's going toward a new playground, a pool repair, or just vanishing into the general fund. And if you ask too many questions, you might find yourself on the receiving end of even more scrutiny from the board. Let's look at how the system is supposed to work. In a well-run HOA, every dollar collected, whether from dues, assessments, or fines, should be accounted for in the annual budget. The board should present this budget at an open meeting, answer questions, and provide regular updates on how funds are being spent. Homeowners should be able to request financial statements and see exactly where their money is going. In some communities, this is exactly what happens. The board is transparent, the finances are clear, and everyone feels like they have a say. But in too many neighborhoods, the reality is very different. Some boards treat the budget like a state secret, sharing only the bare minimum and making it difficult for homeowners to get real answers. Others lump fines in with general revenue, making it impossible to know how much is being collected or what it's being used for. And in the worst cases, there's outright abuse. Boards using fine money for personal perks, pet projects, or even to pay off legal bills from lawsuits they brought on themselves. One of the most common complaints from homeowners is that fines seem to be used as a revenue stream, not just a deterrent. In some communities, the board gets aggressive about enforcement when the budget is tight. Suddenly, everyone's getting notices for minor infractions like trash cans out a few minutes too long, grass a little too high, a holiday wreath left up past the deadline. The fines add up, and the board uses the money to cover shortfalls or fund new projects. Homeowners start to feel like they're being nickel and dimed, and trust in the board erodes. There are also stories of boards using fines to target specific homeowners. Maybe someone spoke up at a meeting, questioned a decision, or ran against a board member in an election. Suddenly, that person starts getting violation notices for things that were never a problem before. The fines pile up, and the homeowner feels singled out. In some cases, this kind of selective enforcement has led to lawsuits, with courts ruling that the board acted in bad faith. Transparency is the key to preventing these abuses, but it's not always easy to achieve. Some boards are resistant to change, worried that too much openness will lead to more questions, more complaints, and more challenges to their authority. Others simply don't have the systems in place to track and report on fine revenue in detail. And in some cases, there's a culture of secrecy that's hard to break. So what can you do if you want to know where your fine money is going? Start by getting involved. Attend board meetings, ask for copies of the budget, and request regular financial reports. If your board is reluctant to share information, remind them that most states require HOAs to keep detailed records and make them available to homeowners. If you're not getting answers, talk to your neighbors and organize. There's strength in numbers, and a group of concerned homeowners can have a lot of influence. It's also important to know your rights. Many states have laws that protect homeowners from abusive or secretive boards. These laws may require boards to hold open meetings, publish budgets, and allow homeowners to vote on major expenditures. Some states even have ombudsman offices or consumer protection agencies that can help resolve disputes between homeowners and HOAs. If you suspect that your board is mismanaging funds or using fines improperly, don't be afraid to speak up. Document everything. Keep copies of violation notices, payment receipts, and any correspondence with the board. If you see something suspicious in the financial reports, ask questions. If you don't get answers, consider running for the board yourself or supporting candidates who promise more transparency. At the end of the day, the secret world of HOA fines is only as secret as homeowners allow it to be. The more you know, the more you ask, and the more you demand transparency, the better your chances of making sure your money is being used the way it should be. And who knows, you might just inspire your neighbors to do the same.
Sometimes, the most surprising thing about HOA fines
isn't just how much money is collected, it's how little homeowners know about what happens next. You might assume that every dollar from fines goes straight into improving the neighborhood, but the reality is often much more complicated. In some communities, fine revenue is used for obvious things, fixing the pool, repairing sidewalks, or planting new trees. But in others, the money seems to vanish into a general fund with little explanation or accountability. Let's look at a real-life example. In a mid-sized HOA in California, residents started noticing that their annual dues were going up, even though the neighborhood amenities weren't improving. When a few curious homeowners requested the financial records, they discovered that the HOA had collected over $50,000 in fines in a single year. But when they asked where the money went, the board was vague. Some of it had been spent on landscaping, but a large chunk had gone to administrative expenses, a category that included everything from legal fees to board member retreats. This kind of vague accounting is more common than you might think. In some cases, boards use fine revenue to cover budget shortfalls or unexpected expenses. If the HOA didn't collect enough in dues, or if there's a big repair bill, fines can become a way to make up the difference. This creates a dangerous incentive. The more fines the board issues, the more money they have to spend. In extreme cases, boards have been accused of ramping up enforcement just to boost revenue, targeting homeowners for minor or even made-up violations. There are also stories of HOAs using fine money for things that have nothing to do with the community. In one infamous case, a board used fine revenue to pay for a lavish holiday party for themselves, complete with catering, gifts, and even a live band. In another, the money went to pay for legal fees after the board was sued by a group of angry homeowners. In both cases, residents were furious when they found out, and the boards were eventually voted out. Transparency is supposed to be the answer. Most states require HOAs to keep detailed financial records and to make them available to homeowners on request. Some states go further, requiring boards to publish annual budgets, hold open meetings, and allow residents to vote on major expenditures. But in practice, getting access to this information can be a challenge. Boards may drag their feet, provide incomplete records, or simply refuse to answer questions. Homeowners who push too hard can find themselves targeted with more fines or even legal threats. So, what can you do if you want to know where your fine money is going? Start by reading your HOA's governing documents. Look for sections on fines, budgets, and financial reporting. Attend board meetings, ask questions, and request copies of financial statements. If the board is uncooperative, check your state's laws. Many require boards to provide this information within a certain time frame. And if you suspect mismanagement or fraud, don't be afraid to speak up. Talk to your neighbors